Hello and welcome to Tell Me in Wrestling, a global podcast that uses ignorance and humour to fill the gaps between everyday life and professional wrestling. If you are new to the podcast, we are going to discuss a topic in conversation, and I am going to be told how it works in the world of wrestling. I am your chronically ignorant and chronically ill host, Phil, and I'm here with my tag team. It had all the goals in. Please let me introduce Carl.
Hello.
And Dan.
In solidarity, I refuse to do my introduction.
Yeah, we had a real difficult time getting you on today, didn't we?
Exactly.
Making a stand.
Yeah. How are we, gents? How are we both?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. I
Good.
was at Cheltenham Festival the other day at the races.
Horses.
Yeah. Which was interesting. Won 260 quid on a bet.
On it, was it a single horse?
It was a single, yeah. One single. I lost 300 through the day, mind you.
But we don't focus on that.
Yeah, exactly.
So was the 260 before you won? Before you lost the 300, or did you win
the 300 was just a steady removal of funds through the day.
40, yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, fun day. Fucking so many people and annoying arseholes on drugs everywhere, but a lot of fun horses.
Were you hanging around the horses?
Yeah,
in the stables.
Yeah.
Not the people.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I think horses would be cooler to hang out with.
They were. Although there's probably more like fucking pens and stuff like that for the people rather than the horses. It's unbelievable. You can't move without someone saying, "Hey, you can't go up here. You can't bring that drink up here." Fucking unbelievable.
No, what are you wearing? Put on a tie.
Yeah, I don't have a tie. I had a turtleneck. I was doing the old Steve Jobs all day. But yeah,
it suited you.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers, appreciate it.
Very smart.
How are you two? How are you doing?
I'm all right. We are starting the process for my disability reassessment. It's starting now, and the actual assessment isn't until January next year. I don't think it's supposed to take this long. I think they've got so much backlog still from the pandemic that it takes a while. And I didn't have a face-to-face assessment the first time it happened because we were in the middle of COVID going on. So I'm very anxious. It's going to take a while, so I'm not going to go into too much detail now.
What's the crack with it though? Is that like so your last one? Does it last a certain amount of time? And then you have to keep having assessments. Is it like you get a 2-year pass or something like that? Or
I don't know. You keep. I'm not really
pass.
sure.
2-year pass, yeah.
I did get a letter. When was it? It was quite a while ago. It was like 18 months, 2 years ago or something. And it said, due to the fact that so much shit has gone on, we're not going to get round to doing your application again until this date.
So does that just mean that you still declared? You don't need.
Yeah. So essentially,
changes.
what's happening is the first time round, I had to prove everything to them.
Yeah.
Because they had nothing, and what you generally find when this kind of stuff happens is you say, "This is how bad I am." I was bedridden at this point, by the way. The only thing I could do was get up out of bed, go to the bathroom, and get back into bed, and I did nothing else. That was my life. That was my whole life. So I said, "Yeah, I can't walk, and I can't do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this." And they replied and just went, "Well, we disagree."
They pop round
and
or
you go,
something.
And you go, on what grounds? And they just go, we just decided that. So we appealed. And the whole process of going through it for the first time and appealing probably came close to killing me, if I'm genuinely honest. It's the amount of stress that it added on me was horrific. But at least this time they've already got a lot of the information, so it's kind of just going, how have things changed from
where you were to where you are now?
Yeah. To where I am now.
Well, at least this is a good episode to have a stick a knife in the government, isn't it? So
exactly,
yeah.
Give them plenty of stick today, again later on. You worry.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like that. The callousness. You'd think a department like that would have. I know. I don't know. I know you've got to be.
I wouldn't.
But you say like
you're coming at it from the fact that you think that the system is there to help me.
Yeah.
And it isn't.
It's like guilty until proven innocent, isn't it?
The way it's. I can understand that there will be people who probably falsify what's going on and manage to cheat the system, and that shouldn't happen. But it's really not that easy to do.
No,
that.
exactly.
You need to prove a fucking lot, and you have to have the right documentation. And the consequences of doing it wrong are very, very serious. So it's not worth going through that in my eyes. I don't want to be on benefits. The fact that anytime a budget happens, I go, they could just take everything away from me, and I can't do anything about that. It's a terrifying situation to be in, particularly when you have a government who are as uncaring and cruel as the government that we currently have, and we will be getting into that a little bit later on.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's try and cheers up a little bit more. Dan had his driving test on Friday. We're recording this on Sunday.
Yeah.
What's the news?
He has not told us what has happened, so we have been
because I thought, do
stewing
you know what would be a
2
great
days.
idea? Talk about my driving test for so many weeks and then go, do you know what? I'll hold one of the biggest things that happened in my life until...
My parents...
biggest things that happened in your life.
I've got married and I think...
My mum and dad are waiting on a bated breath for this.
Bated breath.
They also told me that their favourite episode is the episode where you went to Paris with your boots.
So just not obsessed. Sorry, just very very involved in my life. Invested in my life. Yeah.
So what's the news?
Come on.
So took me test on.
Have we got a drum roll? Have we got a drum roll somewhere in the?
Oh wait, let's have a look in the.
Let's have a look
in the old media gallery.
You set it all up and you
know.
press the drum roll when you're ready.
Is there a drum roll in here? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've got one.
Oh, is it playing? Yeah.
No, I can let me know when you're gonna do it, and
I'll tell you now. So
okay,
hit your drum roll.
Drum roll.
Okay. I've passed.
Yes.
Well done, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much. Did I play that off cool?
I knew you'd pass because in our WhatsApp group, about 2 hours after your test, you messaged asking us a question. I was like, "There's no fucking way you'd have asked us that question if you'd have failed."
Oh, really?
It'd have been stewing in a pit of despair for the weekend if you'd have failed.
But I tried. I didn't post anything on my socials as well, trying to sort of hide it.
I know. I thought that even if you could do
how
that,
hard has that been?
I didn't know whether Heather would be like, I want to share.
I wanted to put "Deece pass me test" because that's my my thing on my social medias.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
everyone hates it. I hate it, and I'm still doing it. I went to the Yorkshire Wildlife Park yesterday. I didn't drive. I bailed out. I bailed out at the last minute. I was going to drive, and then I thought,
can you imagine the first time he goes out in the car,
kills a lion,
gets killed by a lion?
Pretty much. It was because I've only ever done one motorway, and that was like 7 months ago, and that was accidental with my driving instructor. And
you might have had to have come across a roundabout, and you'd have got stuck on it forever.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I don't have my peas on my my green peas. Yeah, so I don't.
Oh,
I don't know if
put those on that,
yeah, I just think. But then I read a lot of people post that it just makes drivers even more of an asshole.
Angry at you.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I'm going to wait for that to arrive, and then I want to do a little bit more driving. It's because I don't like the Golf that I've got, but I'm going to be driving that for the next 6 months.
I found one of the weirdest things was not having someone else in the car.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're on your own.
Yeah, that will be different.
I kind of have to make all the decisions by myself now.
Yeah.
Do I have the confidence to do that?
Do you know what the first thing I did when I passed my test and drove alone for the first time?
Went down the wrong
McDonald's drive-through.
Oh, really?
Did you?
Yeah.
Have I told the story that I hit a pheasant on my way back home, but I was driving so slowly that essentially it just sort of bounced off the front of the car and just walked away?
It was just going like,
chasing you.
Fuck you doing, mate?
Yeah, you don't see me.
It's pretty fucking obvious. There's one road here. There's only room for one car. I walked across. You were going at 5 miles an hour, presumably.
Oh dear.
I know what I'm going to spend that 260 quid on.
Yeah.
Local radio ads warning people of Dan driving around Sheffield.
I only had 3 minors as well. So
oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Well done.
It was and I disagree with one of them. She said something about.
Oh my god! Oh, here we go.
She said,
"Here we go."
She said something
Listen,
about,
I took that spiral roundabout like a professional. All right.
So she said one was my mirrors. I didn't look on, and it was on a spiral roundabout. I did it correctly, did everything correctly, and I knew, and I thought, shit.
What did I say right before you did that test? Did it over-exaggerate that neck when you're looking at your mirrors?
So I honestly thought I failed when I got back to the test center, because I knew that I'd made that move, which was pushing myself out across. It was like it's a spiral that pushes you out across 2 lanes, so it's quite an exaggerated to exit.
I love that it was about spiral roundabouts.
Exactly.
It's quite literally come full circle.
Exactly. And I somehow managed to exit on the incorrect one. I exited on the correct one. But yeah, it was an empty roundabout. As I passed the exit, the third exit, and I went on to the fourth. So as I passed it, there was nothing there. But obviously, you're still supposed to look. So I made my indication, and then I looked, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then I moved over,
before.
and I thought, "Have I?" And I moved across too, and I thought, "Is she going to give me a major for that?" Because that's pretty sort of big observations on a roundabout. But she said to me, she was like, "It was an empty roundabout, and." There shouldn't be anybody coming there anyways, but you never know what people are. There's a lot of she said there's a lot of assholes on the road, and somebody could have come beezing past there. I saw that you looked.
Beezing. Could have come beezing past you.
I think she said breezing past me or something. It was like quite a sort of. And she said, I know that you looked as you went past it. And you could see that there was nobody there, but you should have checked before you made your indication. Says, but again, it's just me. I've got to tell you these things, man. And she said I was a bit heavy on my feet. She said, but you've got big feet, and it's a small car. This, and I'm like, yeah.
You had a pair of Doc Martens on, didn't you?
Yeah.
Luckily, no.
It was just blood filling up the passenger footwell.
Pretty much, yeah.
Spilling out the side of the car. It was like you know in The Shining when they open the lift.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and then the one that I disagreed with was she said something about gears. She said you might not have realised it, but obviously you were struggling to put yourself into gear. And I'm like, I never did that at all. I'm like, where?
You never went into gear?
No, she said I struggled to move. I'm guessing from third into fourth, and I'm like, I don't remember doing that. But again, she spotted it. But again, she didn't give me anything for it.
But that's probably a good thing though that you didn't notice it, because that probably means it's just natural to you to fix it, and you don't even think about it, whereas she will have noticed it maybe.
So but yeah, as I say, I thought because of that because my instructor had given me these things where you make that's a serious mistake. So she failed me the numerous times on mock tests for making what evidently was a minor error.
It's probably best to do that so you go right. Well, I just cannot make that mistake at all.
But it was,
and now,
well done, mate.
Now you can make it whenever you want.
And that's the thing. That's the thing now. It's like I can drive, and because my instructor on the drive home was saying, "Well, what are going to be the bad habits that you're gonna sort of let seep into your driving now, because you want to try and identify them now to not let them become bad habits." And I'm like, going to be bad habits. It'll be like my mirror checks probably, on empty when there's literally nobody on the road.
It's going to get sideswiped on a fucking roundabout in about 2 weeks.
It'll be, I think so my wife, she sits herself, she's slowing down. Instead of going from fourth to second to first, or fourth, 3, 2, 1, she'll flick herself from fourth and then put herself into neutral and then slow down.
It's in neutral?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
She doesn't use the clutch to slow herself down?
Yeah. I think, we know exactly.
What?
Not every time, but I know that she flicks herself into neutral quite a lot.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So I think I'll do that. And because I did it the other week and she had a go at me.
That's really dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems
really dangerous.
So yeah, I think it is.
Maybe we need to put out another advert as well. It's like put both of them together.
So I think I might pick up that bad habit where
that's such a weird habit.
Yeah,
I've never heard that before.
It is. It's, and I think it might be because of this car. Because obviously, I found getting myself from fifth into third in that one, in our old car, is quite difficult. It's like clunky. The gears are very. Well, it's a very old car, so. But now we're at a point where we're going to try and go get a new one, and I'll probably be driving this old one for a little bit.
Yeah, get used to it.
Just so I can get used to. I need to be driving more. That's the thing now. I just need to drive more days.
It's all about getting your confidence levels up. So you're in situations where, like, say, going on a motorway the first time is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. So I've done it once.
Do you know what? Motorway driving is one of the easiest things.
But that's
in
the thing. It's a piece of piss. Yeah. As soon as I went onto it, so like my instructor, and I swear she put me on there by mistake. It was an old instructor that I had, because everywhere that I've read, I'm not supposed to be on a motorway unless I've at all, like as a learner.
You shouldn't be doing it
unless you're doing the Pass Plus thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I've not read a single thing where people have been on a motorway, and I think she told me the wrong exit to exit off of, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm on a motorway now. She was, don't worry, right, we've only got 2 exits, and then we'll come off. And I'm like, oh god. But that's the only time that I've been on a motorway. But yeah, it's just straight. I'm all right with dual carriageways, which are like 60. So it's literally just this. It's just the same, except there's a third lane, and I can go 10 miles an hour faster.
It's just those moments that are a bit hairy if you've got people coming from you from sort of all directions.
Yeah.
You've just got to be very safe, very sensible, and make sure that
you're aware of what's
are in position as soon as you can. So you're not that dickhead who just suddenly goes across 5 lanes of traffic.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that
at
yesterday.
90 miles an hour and scoots in behind someone and nearly causes a massive.
I saw that happen in front of us yesterday. Like we saw again, an Audi just got straight past, and Heather was like, 100% he's going to be exiting off this next junction. And I was like, well, why is it? Because he come from the first, and then he just went all the way around everyone, and then he cut across everyone without even just straight indication. No, 3 to 2, 2 to 1, 1 to junction. Yeah. He just went straight across all of them. I'm like, you knobhead. But I think I'm going to be
he'll have a small dick.
Yeah,
so.
I think I'm going to be that angry prick driver. So, but anyways, yeah. So hey, I passed.
Well done, mate. Well done.
Have we got a poem?
We do have a poem.
Good.
Can we remember what the request was from last week?
I do remember what it was for. I was going to play the little audio clip, but it was for the exploding barbed wire deathmatch, which
was indeed.
I threw that reference in at my wedding as well.
So this is just the match type in general, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Already off to a good start.
Dear. All right, compose myself a little bit. Okay.
All right.
Bash, bash, whack, whack, daddy, daddy, that man's a baddie. Spiky, spiky, bloody, bloody, mummy, mummy, I feel funny. Bang, bang, boom, boom, medic, medic, it blew off my dick. 1, 2, 1, 2, testing, testing. It's time for Tell Me in Wrestling.
It's the best one so far.
That was quite good.
Shot.
That's kind of like something that it's like a bit of a pop. I've got pop punk vibes, but for some reason, pop punk lyric vibes, but also like
shit poem vibes.
Childhood. Dr. Zeusy.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of going for, just something a bit reverent. But
it reminded me. This is a bit of an old reference, but in one of the Blackadder series where Baldric writes a poem.
That is not boom. A compliment, is it?
Just the word boom over and over
boom,
again.
Boom,
boom, boom.
Yeah. Bang, bang, boom, boom. Yeah. Mummy, mummy, daddy, daddy.
I don't know why, but what I was like, but deathmatch, like they always bleed, and I was like, bloody, bloody, mummy, mummy, I feel funny. And then I wrote it away from that.
Well done.
Yeah. It doesn't always have to.
Basically, what I do is with my poems is I come up with one thing, and then I'm just write above and below, and that's it.
And just go from there.
Yeah.
And it's all just a lot poorer than the original thing.
That's cool. It's called creativity.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it? That's how it
Start
works.
and end, and then you've just got to do the journey. Phil, do you want to try and throw out a subject type for Carl's next week? I think this is the new thing for us to now to set the challenge
set the challenge
on the episode, and then he has a week to then write the poem.
Yeah, I spent a week on it.
A week, an entire week.
Okay.
I mean, I was going to say he has a week.
Dedicated.
He has a week to then spend 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I would like you to do it on the Royal Rumble, please.
The Royal Rumble.
Okay.
All right.
Royal Rumble.
Bumble, apple crumble. Loads of rhyme with that.
Fumble.
Yeah. That'd be easy. That'd be easy.
That might be
You should do that. Yeah, just at the end of each line is just humble. It's got to be. That's the
humble.
Humble, yeah.
Right. Anyway.
Show me the money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money,
Dollar, dollar.
The world of wrestling is obsessed with money, from ironclad contracts to billion-dollar princesses. We've money in the bank ladder matches and casino battle royals. As the $1 Million Man says, everyone's got a price. Exactly like that. So this week, I want you to tell me how much was on the line in the WrestleMania 1 match between Big John Studd and Andre the Giant.
Oh.
So the stipulation was that Andre the Giant put his career on the line, that he would be
just told us.
Sorry, it was career versus. So his career was on the line. If he could body slam Big John Studd. If he could body slam Big John Studd, he kept his career, but he also took home a prize amount of cash. How much was that prize amount of cash? So this was WrestleMania 1.
Tricky there.
It was in 1985.
I was going to say late 80s. Okay.
So is there going to be a lot of money around at this point, is what I'm thinking.
So this is WrestleMania.
Carl will know much better than
just before the Hulkamania boom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Around that time. Well, kind of peak, I guess, during.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
So Hulk Hogan and Mr. T was the main event. He beat Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper in the main event in the tag team match.
I want to say $1 million, but I don't know if that's like over egging it and not. I'm kind of doing it in today's money.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a number like that. So it's either like 100 grand or $1 million, but I don't know which one to go for.
Okay,
you go for one of them and I'll go for the other.
Oh, okay,
because they were the two numbers that I had in mind.
Was it? All right.
Yeah,
because I feel like 100 grand challenge.
It feels like it should be more than 100 grand.
Yeah,
but I don't see why they would have such a huge purse on something like that. But I also understand that it's the first WrestleMania and they want to try and bring people
it's also
in.
not real.
Yeah.
Maybe because I can just see them calling it like the $1 Million Challenge or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's
I'm going to go $1 million, but I'll over-egg it, I think. But go on, Phil.
I'll go 100 grand then.
Well, you've both
both wrong.
Both over-egged it. Yeah, quite a bit. Which is disappointing because I think this is like maybe the third time you've kind of gone way over. So the number that I tell you is quite disappointing.
It's pathetic.
£15,000. $15,000.
That seems like a weird amount, and also a paltry amount.
But I think, but then it's like I saw that and I was like, I thought that's why it's a good number because I thought you guys are going to over-egg this again because I thought WrestleMania, bright lights. But then the more I've read into it, I'm like, well, it's 1985, so it's still a hell of a lot of money. For the time.
Yeah, that's nearly 40 years ago, which is quite depressing.
So, basically the match only lasted 6 minutes. Andre, which is when I first read it, and
$938,000 in today's money.
41,000.
So that still doesn't. That's still not a lot.
Yeah,
doesn't feel like a lot.
No.
Not for slamming that big boy.
Well, that was the thing. It wasn't Andre the Giant being slammed. That's what I thought as well. Like,
again, and
I'm like, it was the other way around. Which again, it was just
was the other guy bigger than Andre the Giant?
No, Big John.
No.
So he was accompanied by Bobby Heenan. So when Andre the Giant won, kept his career, took the 15,000. He celebrates by throwing money into the Madison Square Garden crowd, and Bobby Heenan then in the background is stealing the bag and running away.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, he's like grabbing it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know Phil, Andre the Giant because he was so massive, he just used to shit in hotel bathtubs.
I've had 15 beers.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, I have seen like I think a documentary on his life, and it's quite sad. I do feel sorry for him in some ways.
Yeah,
but you know,
He loved his.
he was all right.
wine,
He had a good life. He
Yeah.
did, and his beer.
his beer.
Right then, John
Right.
Wiki.
I've got a John Wiki for you. Yeah. So the score is currently Carl with 7 and Dan with 6.
Oh,
Because Dan got beer money.
he got the one last week, didn't he? First
Yeah.
first.
Are we counting the one that I got while I was away as well? Because I
No.
said that I
Nope,
got.
It doesn't
this
count.
Nope.
This is Carl's gonna have to need to be away for 2 weeks. We'll have to
Yeah.
do some pods around.
I'm never going away again.
Yeah.
You're gonna
This is just what we're going to do till the end of time.
somehow
through
sabotage.
bloody mindedness
Yeah.
and spite.
That's what keeps me
He'll
going.
be there on his honeymoon, and his wife will be like, "Where's Carl?" And you'll be like, Shh, I'm just doing John Wiki. I'll be back. I'll be
Pod in.
back.
Pod in.
You ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. I made my ring debut in 1988 as Sweet Georgia Brown. Clue number 1.
Sorry, 88.
Yes, I made my ring debut in 1988 as Sweet Georgia Brown.
Okay, I've got one.
So Dan's got his answer. What are you thinking, Carlos? What's going through your head?
Thinking 1988. It was fucking ages ago.
And I've
It
probably.
was.
And I'm guessing it's a woman as opposed to a man with a name like Sweet Georgia Brown.
I-
Can neither confirm or deny,
can't-
can he?
Confirm or deny that, I'm
We're
afraid.
past. I think we caught Phil the other week, didn't we? Where he gave away 2 clues in one.
Yeah.
In one.
Yeah, well, you know. My fucking
Yeah.
game.
1988.
I could just read the answer out right now if I really wanted
Yeah.
to.
That's a fun game.
Okay, go on, Dan. I've got a couple of options
Okay.
here.
Okay, so I'm gonna say Alundra Blaze.
Ooh.
don't know if that's
So
too
I
early.
actually, my top guess was going to be Medusa, who
It's
is Alundra
Alundra
Blaze,
Blaze, yeah.
but in the interest of keeping it interesting, I will cross that one off, and instead we'll say Sensational Sherry.
That's a good one.
Okay, so Dan,
Boom. Carl. Oh, Carl's got it.
Carl, both incorrect, I'm afraid.
Still in the game. Two solid guesses there, may I just say?
Very good guesses.
Solid
Very good
guesses.
guesses. I assume.
You've got no fucking clue there.
I have no idea who these people are.
Yeah.
Clue 2. I am a 14-time USWA Women's Champion.
14 times.
So there we go. We know that it is a woman.
Does that help you, Dan?
US women's. No, it doesn't. It's actually
Ooh.
Confused me even more.
that has
So
because
debuted in '88 and managed to get 14 USWA.
Yeah.
So that means that they probably didn't go to WWF until later, if they did at all. Okay.
Well, we having a guess. We can move on to the next clue if we really
I
want
do
to.
have another guess, but
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna. No, she did. No, that's a stupid guess. I'm just gonna guess it for guessing sake. Because I don't think she
Okay,
wrestled.
yeah.
That. I was gonna say
Go on.
Nancy Benoit, woman, but I don't think she wrestled that
Mm.
much.
Incorrect.
I was going to say Jacqueline.
Okay. Is that what you're going to go for?
Yeah. Yes!
Jacqueline is correct.
Come
Jacqueline
on.
Moore.
And it kind of makes sense. Sweet Georgia Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
Do you know what?
In
Yeah.
1993, she
I
was
think
the first female wrestler to be included in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500.
Yeah.
She's very, very accomplished.
Oh yeah. I realised that going through it's basically just a list of her accomplishments that I wrote down.
She was probably during the Attitude Era the only like proper wrestler, women's wrestler who was there. Apart from they were all like models and stuff. Do you know why I guess that? Because I had a feel because I think she's Texan, and I think USWA was based in Texas from like my very limited memory.
Yeah, I think she had like a Texas-based.
Yeah, so that was kind of why I guess
at one point from what I read. I quite like this. She formed the Pretty Mean Sisters.
She did, PMS.
Or PMS. Yeah. I was like, I like that. Yeah, that was good.
They used to They used to smoke cigars and put them out on people's faces.
Oh, that's pretty cool. First black woman to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame as well. Yeah,
she was a bit of a trailblazer, actually.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Going through at the bottom, it was nothing but praise from basically anyone who's been a female wrestler from then up until now, saying what they couldn't be doing what they're doing now if it wasn't
for her,
and what she did. And she also rhymes with smackabin 4.
I don't.
Just in case we didn't get through.
I don't know.
Do you know what? I don't think I'd have got it with that.
I would never have got it with that.
No, okay.
Because I don't know. She was only known by Jacqueline, at the height of her career. So
Smackabin 4.
Smackabin 4.
What was her full name?
Jacqueline Moore.
Moore. Okay. Moore. Yeah, I wouldn't have got it with that. I think that would have kind of thrown me even more. Yeah.
Thrown even more. Well, that's what we like about this game.
Oh yeah, I do love that game.
Like we're not really sure how it's going to play out at any given time.
Yeah. I do wonder if wrestling fans listening to the podcast are like screaming the answer sometimes.
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope there's some giant nerd somewhere who's getting every single one first
immediately
and can't believe the stupidity of the three of us.
Yeah,
we do all right on it though. To be fair,
yeah, the 2 episodes that I wasn't on. I can't remember which one it was that I scribbled it down.
One of them was Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank, that was it. I got that right.
Chris
and
Jericho.
I was like, Money in the Bank. And I was doing what we've just described. I was screaming, Money in the Bank. And I paused it, and I think I sent a voice note. Then I said, I've just paused it at 25 minutes, 26 seconds.
It's irrelevant. Doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I find my brain, for some reason, works better when I'm in competition with you. I don't know why. When I'm on my own, it's like, there's no stakes. I don't really give a shit.
I'm going to get the point anyways.
Yeah. Right then.
There we go. So Carl's taking a 2-point lead.
Well done.
It's like 8-6.
Well, it looks like there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event.
So our main event this week is Gary Lineker's suspension from the BBC. Now we are a bit behind
because we've completely missed the boat on this.
It's already happened, but it's the quickest we could get a recording scheduled together.
But it's good because we've got the full story now, haven't we? I think.
Yeah, it's kind of come full circle, a bit like down on a spiral roundabout.
Yeah.
So, BBC presenter and former England footballer Gary Lineker was asked to step down from his duties at the BBC after he allegedly broke their impartiality laws when he was tweeting about stuff to do with the UK government. On March 7th, he tweeted in opposition about the new illegal migration bill put forward by the Tory government in the UK, saying, "Good heavens, this is beyond awful." And he got into some replies, including this one that I am about to share.
This isn't a new thing for him, is it? So it's not like it's come out of nowhere. They're well aware of his standing.
Yeah,
and his
he's also tweeted things like "bin off Corbyn."
Yeah,
talking about
the
former opposition.
And if he'd have been fucking praising it, they wouldn't have taken him off, would they?
Yeah. What? Because the thing that got him the most criticism was a reply to someone else in which he said, "This is just an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in language that is not too dissimilar to that used by Germany in the 1930s. And I'm out of order?"
Yeah.
I mean, to steal a phrase from Bobby Fish, where's the lie?
I mean, where's the lie?
Well, I've come up with a game to help us try and figure out if we can understand the difference between language used in Germany in the 1930s and language used in Britain in the 2020s.
Oh.
So here is a game called Don't Quote Me, and this is the Fascism edition. You ready?
Okay. Are these just
these are
Tory quotes, or
genuine
is it
quotes.
from?
So they're either from the Tory government or from the
they're either
Nazis
from
in the 1930s.
the Nazi Party in the 1930s,
Yeah.
or the Tory government
Okay.
that have been in power for the last 12
So
years.
it's not Hitler versus Suwalov, evil face.
No.
Okay.
Not quite.
So
Okay.
Goebbels
You ready?
versus...
So quote number 1. We do not recognise any tradition of civil rights.
That's
Nazis.
Tory.
That was the Nazis.
Oh,
That was by someone called Dr. Hans Frank.
should we do a little tally on this?
Yeah, so
Little
that's
Nazi tally.
One to Carlos.
I thought that they said something similar to that.
No, that you're thinking of. They did say something similar, but it was to
European
do with human rights,
Yeah.
not civil rights.
Civil rights.
Quote number 2.
Which one's worse? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Well, careful.
Quote number 2. The only stable emotion is hate.
Well, that's got to be Nazis.
Yeah, Nazis.
Yeah, that was Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
Or possibly the teachers' unions when referring to Gavin Williamson. Quote number 3. Humanitarianism is the expression of stupidity and cowardice.
That sounds like a Tory.
I reckon that's like... Oh, is it Goulis? His name is? He's off...
Who?
Something Goulis.
Oh,
Gullis.
Gullis.
That's it.
Jonathan
Gullis.
Gullis. Yeah, he's been very prominent
Yeah.
in getting his fat little face on TV
Yeah,
and
it's-
saying disgusting
Yeah.
shit. So what? Who are we going for?
I went
now?
Tories.
I think Tories as well.
Tory. No, that was another
Ah.
quote from Adolf
Oh,
Hitler.
God.
Quote number 4. When immigration is too high, when the pace of change is too fast, it's impossible to build a cohesive society.
Oh God, that's so difficult.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I think we're playing the game. I think we're playing the game now where all of them are Nazi quotes, and it's like
Yeah.
we're fishing for.
Well,
See, I thought that was Tory
that's
right
Nazi.
until the end.
Until the
What was-
end,
How
yeah.
did it end? What was the last bit?
it's impossible to build a cohesive society.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's-
makes me think it's Nazi.
It
But
drifts a
it
bit
sounded
too
very, very Tory.
very Tory until the end.
So what
We're
are we going for?
Nazi.
Nazi. That was former Prime Minister Theresa May in 2017,
This is ridiculous.
who opposes the new bill.
Yes, she's
but
one of the
didn't
good
vote
ones.
against it.
She didn't vote
Didn't
against
vote
it.
against it. No, just said I don't agree with it, and then abstained from the vote.
How can anyone support these fucking arseholes? It baffles me. Anyway, let's crack on.
Quote 5. I am a fighter, not a quitter.
Is that,
I don't know.
I don't know. Right?
Oh, I
That's
love the
either-
psychological
my
hold I
God.
have
So
on you both.
that could be. I don't think it's. It's either Hitler in his last days, probably, or it's either
Johnson
Boris
in his last days.
Boris in his last days, or
Yeah,
Truss in the last days.
I'm gonna go Tory.
Truss in the last days. I'm going to think Tory as well.
Trust doesn't. Go on.
It is a Tory quote. It was Liz Truss, but I also
Was
wrote
it?
down. I also wrote down Hitler just before he went into his bunker
Yeah.
and shot himself.
Go on.
Yeah, so that was a Tory. We are being invaded.
Oh, that's it. That's Tories.
That-
but I
that's
think
Tory,
the Nazis
yeah,
have probably
that's-
said that as well. But
they
it's-
probably-
both.
That's actually both.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Both have said at some point we are being invaded by, and then used
another.
either
Yeah.
Jewish people or
Gypsies,
minorities.
Whoever they're
Just,
yeah.
hating and
Yeah.
using as
Yeah.
political.
pawns.
Final one. I won't apologise for the language that I've used to demonstrate the scale of
This
the
is
problem.
Tory. This
Yeah.
is
That's
in
what's-
response to a Jewish woman, isn't it?
This is our current Home Secretary,
Cruella.
Stella Braverman, who has come up with this bill, and that is the response she gave when challenged over her language by an actual Holocaust survivor.
Insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the fact that I came up with this game and thought, oh, it shouldn't be that hard. You
That
two
was
just
very
had no
difficult.
idea.
How many was
Absolutely
there?
No idea. 7 quotes.
7. Jesus.
There were 3 outright quotes by Nazis, and the other 4 were the kind of language that our government have been using recently.
I mean, if that this should be clipped and played around the world, because if that doesn't lay it out for everyone how fucking evil these people are, I don't know what will.
And how true.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that I liked about the Gary Lineker tweet was as soon as you saw it like trending, you're like, hey, he's gonna get stuff for this. But he was really smart. I thought the right wing are going to go mental over this because it was like, how dare you compare? How dare you say Nazis, Holocaust?
Which is exactly what they did.
But the thing is,
that's why he was so smart.
He was really smart with his language because he said 1930s Germany, and this is the sort of the conversation that you have to have whenever, because there's the left versus right is the left use Nazis and the right use immigration and everyone else is like, and woke and all this other thing to sort of, and go, how dare you compare us to the Nazis?
Karate.
And go, you don't know, how dare you say that we're killing, we're like the Holocaust. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, because that's the thing, they like to try to sort of,
because they like to go to extremes in every sense.
They go to the extreme and they like to
they appeal to your emotional side,
and they block off the Nazi Party being basically World War II. And everything that happened
they jump
around there.
From the beginnings to Holocaust, and they don't think about
exactly.
the in between.
And it's like that's the important thing that kind of like went around just over the last few months now. There's been this it's like a small little poster, wasn't it, which was the World War II and the Holocaust didn't just happen overnight. It was 10 years.
Yeah, well, it's the same with Trump, right? It didn't go from riots and stuff in the space of a day. It took years of hatred and poison.
Careful,
exactly. Just to play devil's advocate, though, he was calling them Nazis, wasn't he?
No, but that's the thing. So, but it's a selective choice of language from his perspective that is saying Nazis, because the thing is, you can throw. He is correct in saying they're talking like Nazis, right? But everyone's mind automatically jumps to the Nazis killed a load of Jews and gypsies and gays and everyone else. But they jump to that point and they forget about how they got to that point. He was like, right, you know what? Instead of because he knew that his replies were going to be, you can't say that because this. They're not doing any of that. So he was selective and going, no, actually, I'm selecting a point in history. That's what. So he can be very specific. He was using his 240 characters to the limit.
I've just been a contrarian as I usually am, but I think to actually make that point, you need to make it more clear and say, well, 1930s this happened, 15 years later this happened. Do you know what I mean? And make it crystal clear that that's what that's the point you're trying to make. Don't allude to something, just fucking say it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I mean, it's great that he does.
But that's
the
thing. Twitter loses its nuance, and like, yes, he could have followed it up by going, right, okay, let me explain.
People slag each other off for being Nazis on Twitter
all the time.
Yeah.
So it probably might have lost its impact a bit. Anyway, so the day after he tweeted that, on March the 8th, it really riled up the right-wing press and the government. There were 36 Tory MPs who wanted an inquiry into Gary Lineker's tweet for being impartial whilst working for a supposed impartial broadcast.
He's a sports broadcaster, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to try and fly through all the hypocrisy surrounding that. I'm going to try and do it in a minute. I haven't got a timer, but
I'll time you.
As fast as possible.
Is this like Carl when he did his full English breakfast?
Oh yeah, that was.
Yeah, go on.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You tell me when to go, and I'll go.
3, 2, 1, go.
The BBC chairman Richard Sharp used to be Rishi Sunak, our current Prime Minister's boss at Goldman Sachs. He donated £400,000 to the Tories and used to work for Boris Johnson. BBC Director General Tim Davies stood to be a Tory councillor, was chairman of his local Tory party group, and asked BBC comedians to stop being mean about the Tories when he got the job. Board member Sir Robbie Gibb worked for the Tories during the 90s and the 2000s and was Theresa May's Director of Communications when she was PM. Sir Alan Sugar presents The Apprentice, is a billionaire, tweeted about not voting for the Labour Communists during the 2017 and 2019 elections, tweeted an altered image of Jeremy Corbyn in a car with Adolf Hitler. Andrew Neil used to present The Daily Politics on BBC Two, tweeted about politics all the time. When complained about, the BBC used to say, la 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 la, he's freelance, la 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 la. And he's also the former chairman of The Spectator, a right-wing magazine who have published articles praising Nazi soldiers in World War II for their heroism.
Oh! 27 milliseconds over a minute. Well done.
It's because he took that deep breath. Anyway, too many lads. What half a lad too many.
Yeah.
There's your hypocrisy.
Fucking insane, isn't it? Like, come on,
And
it's so transparent.
There's one which was even Gary Lineker himself on the BBC was criticising during the World Cup Qatar, talking politically.
They told him to do that.
How can you be politically ambivalent,
impartial? Yeah.
Well, so on March the 9th, Gary Lineker said he stands by his comments because the press were all over him. Suella Braverman said she found his comments offensive as her husband is Jewish. She has also said people are perfectly entitled to say things about politics, gender and religion that others find offensive, whilst simultaneously trying to get someone who disagreed with her politics fired.
She's such.
But that's the thing, isn't it? This is why I kept thinking, and like everyone in solidarity was arguing. My point is, he was very selective about the language because what was the first thing that she went back? My husband's Jewish, and it's like, what's that got to do with the conversation? What's that got to do with anything right now? He never mentioned it at all. Like that. But that's the thing, and it's like, well, all these Jews are going to get offended by what you said. How dare you compare their stuff to what? It's not. We're not talking about their suffering at all. Like.
No, but it's like a warning shot, isn't it? That's well, the problem. This is the road we're about to exit off a spiral roundabout onto, and we could exactly.
I think left-wing commentators now need to go back a little bit further in history and try and sort of identify.
But it doesn't resonate as much.
That's the problem, isn't it?
It doesn't have as much impact.
It doesn't have enough impact. But you've got to go back, because that's the thing. History repeats itself in cycles and cycles and cycles. So we need to go back to another time where, again,
I don't know why more people are... I know people are calling out that hypocrisy, but people like Lineker of his stature, like just all day, every day, just fucking... ping that at Twitter constantly, and surely the tide would change.
Because I read something about because Carol Vorderman is another one who's using her platform, and it's because they're untouchable right now. But they're almost untouchable. They don't care. They've got enough money to survive.
They don't need money, do they?
Their career, they've not got into bed with anyone, so there's not going to be any mud to be. Look, what could have happened? What's the worst that's been slung at any of those two right now? And it's because she was at Cheltenham this week, and she is,
as was I.
As was Carl. She is a patron for a horse charity or something, so she was in a box. And the Daily Mail were there with a long lens camera, and they got Hancock in a photo next to her, and look at the hypocrisy of her slagging him off, and she's there having a laugh with him, and she was like, he was literally there for 30 seconds, and I removed myself from the situation, and because I laughed at a comment somebody made, I laughed to remove myself from the situation. She posted a video of herself. She posted a video afterwards about the hypocrisy of this, and it's like, that's the thing. Yeah. They'll try and find anything to sling onto them, but they've got nothing on there.
They both do that though. Both sides do that. To be fair.
But this is the thing.
He's going to take everything with
he doesn't need for the BBC money. He can go work for La Liga TV.
He can go work for another broadcaster.
Yeah, but if people just dealt in facts and just flinged that stuff at Twitter constantly, I feel like the tide would change a bit.
Are there any people who still work at Twitter?
That's true.
So this kind of stuff like
that's
that.
True,
that's the thing as well.
People could do that, and he'll just change the fucking algorithm, won't he?
Yeah, that's the thing that governments are scared of as well, because they can't control. Like Twitter they can control the news, which they're doing. They're trying to do through BBC and everything. They're trying to control standard communicative tools. But they can't control Twitter.
They don't want a free press because they don't want legitimate.
Because this is the thing. It's like Facebook could be controlled because Facebook it allows outside sort of. You can create a bubble, but you can find that was easy to sort of from an outsider control and communicate to people. But within Twitter, you're kind of stuck within your own bubble. The difference is now, which I've noticed actually, is they've changed the way that Twitter works, and now.
You can fucking say that again.
Well, have you not noticed that your news
everyone's noticed?
I don't go on Twitter.
So
because
Twitter's news
I find it's just
the For You tab you're talking about.
So there's two. So whereas previously for the last 2 or 3 years, and I always used to.
We don't need to go into it too much detail because everyone knows.
Twitter felt like a little my own little bubble. So I always thought it's quite fun to sort of drift into right wing Twitter and see what's going on over there.
It's scary. trying to do that because the views of other
But
people
now,
are. You go, oh yeah, I don't.
Now,
hear this
right
because
wing
they're
Twitter is
discussing
sort
an
of filtering into my news feed as well. So it's like, oh right, okay. So now I can see how somebody who would hold relatively centrist left views can veer off onto the right.
Well, just like the comedian Joe Lycett, you are actually incredibly right wing,
massively right wing. Yeah. So
right. So March the 10th. Getting back to the story, the BBC announced Gary Lineker will step back from presenting Match of the Day, and sure enough,
so that was the Friday.
The main pundits said that they're going to stand down from their roles.
Everyone down tools, didn't they?
And then the commentary team said, we're going to stand. We're not doing our jobs either. And then every single sports presenter on the BBC who had something to do with football said, we're
and the
not doing our
production
jobs.
teams as well.
Yeah.
And the production teams, yeah. So Match of the Day, which is the longest running sports show either on the BBC or maybe in the world, shows the highlights of the football on Saturday. And it went ahead with no presenter, no pundits, no commentary, and no titles. So it was just 20 minutes of just condensed highlights. And there was a Tory MP called Scott Benton who tweeted, "Best episode in years, had all the goals in," because he's presumably stupid cunt.
Never watched an episode of Match. Again, episode. Who calls it episode? Oh, do you know that's my favourite episode? Remember episode 3000?
Remember series 12 of Match of the Day?
Exactly.
when it was just throwing highlights.
Yeah. Those were the days, weren't they?
And the warm up before and after the game.
Because the one thing Match of the Day misses, it's all the goals.
It is, yeah. Famously
forgets to put the goals in.
If they just really tweaked their model slightly, they'd get a few more people watching.
But it was
anyway. The whole thing's been resolved. The BBC said, "Oh yeah, you can come back. You don't have to delete any of your tweets. You don't have to apologise for anything you've done," because it felt like it could potentially be a really pivotal moment in the entire history of our country because of
we'll look back to this as a kind of turning point on what for good or for worse.
And considering how much strike action there is going on in our country and has been for like the past year or so, it just shows how standing together with your fellow human over something like this sends more of a powerful message.
Can I just say, do you know what my favourite thing of all of that weekend was? You had like however many Tory MPs on Twitter, on the news, like frothing at the mouth, getting angry, working themselves up. And then you just saw Gary Lineker like walking his dog, going to watch Leicester play. Like he just did not give a fuck. They're like, are you going to take back your comments? Do you stand by your comments? And he was like,
I'm just walking my dog.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then just got in a car. Like he played it brilliantly. Just went about his life like a normal person, while they were all just raging.
They can't understand having a principle and sticking to it.
No, because they're all fucking...
Because they flip-flop.
They just go with whichever way the wind's blowing in
like
what
a
either
fish
direction.
out of water.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's the wrestling equivalent to all this? Because we've got,
Dan's been on a political rant for the last hour and a half.
We were a little worried that we might get quite political on this, but it is quite a huge watershed moment.
It is.
In what's going on over here at the minute.
The wrestling equivalent probably not quite as serious, if I'm honest.
No.
But this isn't about any one person. I'm sure we can maybe cover a couple who were affected, but basically, as we know, it's a similar situation in that Gary Lineker is hired on a freelance basis, right? He's independent.
Yeah.
He's not a full-time salaried employee of the BBC. And equally with WWE, we've talked about this before, but everyone is an independent contractor. They don't have healthcare, they don't have retirement, they don't have any of that shit with them. And one of the things that a lot of them started to do with the rise of things like Twitch, Cameo, OnlyFans in some cases, and YouTube, people started. Some of the wrestlers, obviously, they gain a following. They're great personalities for who they are, not for who the WWE created, and they started leveraging those platforms as you would to earn a bit of extra cash because you're having to pay for your hotel every night, and if you do Cameo every night in your hotel room, then that might pay for it and might pay for your road fees.
When you inevitably get an injury or a health scare.
Exactly, and then
body on the line every night. You've got
when
to have
you can't
money
be
to
in the ring,
pay.
you can carry on doing all that stuff and still provide content and interact with your fans. So guess what? What was happening in September 2020? If you cast your mind back a little bit.
September 2020, we were all in a strict lockdown.
We were pandemic in full flow.
Yeah.
And that's when, guess what WWE decided to do at that point?
There's going to be a show, presumably.
There's going to be a new rule put in place where you ain't doing that shit anymore. And they basically said in September 2020, Vince McMahon instructed WWE superstars to cease engaging with outside third parties, which likely includes Cameo, Twitch, YouTube. Talents have 30 days to comply or be subjected to fines, suspensions, and terminations. This move would essentially mean that superstars who have established followings on these platforms would lose significant income. So what Vince and the WWE are basically saying there is you're independent contractors, but also I completely own you and you can't do anything outside of our wrestling bubble. I've got a quote from a WWE here as well. But so while this was all going on, I don't know if you remember during the presidential elections around that time, Andrew Yang, he was kind of a lefty, a lot of the younger people were loving him at the time.
Yeah.
He actually came out, because this was quite big news, he came out in support of all of the wrestlers and had a complete go at WWE for their independent contractors state and all that kind of stuff.
I think there was a John Oliver thing as well.
Yeah, that he did as well. Yeah, around the same time. I think that was just before they did this, actually. That clip. So here's the statement on them, because basically everyone was obviously. WWE is very similar to the UK government in that it will leak things to the dirt sheets or the press, and then kind of slowly but surely it becomes real, and then they release a statement on it and all that stuff. So they do move in a similar way to the Tories quite often. So WWE said, much like Disney and Warner Brothers, WWE creates, promotes, and invests in its intellectual property, i.e. the stage names of performers like The Fiend Bray Wyatt, who not long after this was fired, Roman Reigns, who's still around as champion, Big E, who is now has basically a career-threatening injury, so it's very relevant for him, and he was massive on Cameo, and Braun Strowman, who was fired and rehired not long after this. It is the control and exploitation of these characters that allows WWE to drive revenue, which in turn enables the company to compensate performers at the highest levels in the sports entertainment industry. Notwithstanding the contractual language, it is imperative for the success of our company to protect our greatest assets and establish partnerships with third parties on a company-wide basis rather than an individual level, which as a result will provide more value for all involved. Now, here's just one example. Paige, who was at the time injured and forced to retire from wrestling, was on Twitch. She was estimated to be earning on Twitch $45,000 a month. Can you imagine if you're contracted to, even if she's contracted to let's say $500,000 a year, maybe $1 million at the most, then being told, oh, by the way, you can't wrestle anymore because you hurt your neck doing what you love for us. And that 45 grand that you earn every month, we're taking it away. Can you imagine?
How did they police?
So it was...
They basically forced them to.
Yeah, there's two things to it. It's like with the Paige one, she offered to change her. She eventually did change her Twitch, didn't she? When she left WWE,
she changed it to her own name.
However, a lot of the arguments for a lot of the other. This is where we talk about Matt Cardona and Zack Ryder being really smart. Like he promoted himself, building a brand outside of the WWE with his own name. Xavier Woods or Austin Creed, it was really smart in the sense that again he's got his own separate brand as Austin Creed. And with that,
he's the perfect example of this in a way. He set up a YouTube channel completely independent, turned it into one of the biggest gaming YouTube channels there is. And then WWE said, either we start running that and get the ad revenue from it, or you shut it down. And he had to comply. Now they control it all.
I used to sort of have a look at that, and it was really interesting back in the day when it was just them, because you had the wrestlers on there, but they weren't coming on as their own name. When they were introduced, it's like your nickname is now da-da.
Yeah,
and then give them a nickname, and it's like there you go. And it's like So we discussed this a few episodes ago, where it was like, if WWE could just take the IP of a wrestler and just plonk it into a new human being,
they would
be able to do that
100%.
100%. If they can continue the reign of Roman Reigns in a different human being, they would absolutely do that.
It is interesting though, isn't it? By kind of, and this is why WWE a lot of the time will give them new names, because for a while they were like, you had CM Punk, AJ Styles, people like that coming in where they like let it go and let them keep the copyright on their name, or had a temporary copyright on it.
Yeah.
And then around this time, Vince went back to his old ways of changing everybody's name and creating a new character for them so that they can kind of control it.
But it was like, again, when Punk and AJ Styles came in, there wasn't, well, wrestlers, I think there was a level of ignorance. I think Undertaker sort of made a comment where it was like, there's all these bloody kids playing video games in there. And I think his level of ignorance sort of filtered through to Vince and to the rest of his
they're all just
cronies.
Fucking boomers, aren't they?
And they were, and they were just like, they were like, what the hell are these
mentality.
kids doing just playing video games? And they didn't realize what they were actually doing. And then suddenly, I'm guessing somebody knocked on their door and gone, have you seen how much they're making?
Mm-hmm.
And go, what? They're just playing video games, because that's what they were doing. Like the up down down channel that Austin Creed had, they were going to wrestling shows, but they were turning up like 6 hours before the show, so they had 6 hours to kill. So they were playing video games backstage with wrestlers,
and that's a very, very good name for a game.
It's very good.
It was a really smart.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, we've got 6 hours to kill. We all like video games. You're all here. You're all quite popular. We're not. And he was like, well, I'm not going to use your wrestling name, because then I'm getting into trouble with the heads, because if they find out that I'm using your real name, then so I'll call you da 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 da. And they just gave each other silly little names. And then perfect, I'm making bank. As says that? I've never said that phrase before in my life. They're making a lot of money, and then obviously
excited, aren't you, mate?
Exactly.
Right.
You've passed your driving test. The world's your oyster now.
Leaning back, isn't he? He's talking
saying these comments. And obviously somebody's then gone and knocked on the door, knocked on the board's door, and gone, these guys are making. Have you seen the YouTube revenue that this?
I think it's more the cameo stuff.
The cameo stuff,
rather
the
than
Twitch
YouTube
as well, and then because they managed to pull it from the YouTube and move that over. Go, okay, that's fine. And then now again, cameo and Twitch again, that they'll have just forgotten, not focus on it. And
they just won't get it.
Well, they didn't understand it. And then somebody again, they'll have recruited somebody from outside, and they'll have come into the business and gone, by the way, we need to look at our social media, because if you think about what they did with social media, and they at times they were kind of like, they had the finger. I remember they invested in there was is it
Tout?
That's it. Yeah,
it was Vine.
Yeah, so they and this was they had, but the thing is,
they bought into the company, and then it went tits up like a year later.
Yeah, I know the family that invented that. Like,
okay, you are going way off track.
Sorry, but the thing is, at times they've been on point and like kind of
make your point, for fuck's sake.
I can understand now why he ended up on a motorway, because he was originally they were like, take the third exit, and you were fucking waffling on about.
It's like someone grabbing you, just bouncing you from wall to wall. You're like, I've got no idea where we started or how we got here.
Where we're going with this. Anyways, they've had people within the company who've understood it, but then I think because they've been bitten on.
But what they've done is basically seen it, how much they're earning, gone, let's make a WWE version of what they're doing, and then they all have to do it through there, and we'll give them 20% of the profit, and we'll keep the rest.
Is there anyone who, like you said with Paige, has anyone just gone, right, well, I'm not going to wrestle anymore?
So
I'm going to do this.
Paige did that. I think she was in an interesting position because, like Dan said, she changed her name on Twitch and stuff to her real name, which I think was a stupid move on WWE's part, because it gave her the chance to actually build up her brand. And now she's left and is actually wrestling again.
She's now bigger than what she used to be under a former name.
Yeah. I think, and obviously we've talked about like Mandy Rose leaving to do her whatever it is, her porn, OnlyFans stuff.
Selena Vega.
I can't remember any. Oh yeah, Selena Vega did a lot of stuff.
She was the one that she posted like, I support unions.
About a union. Yeah.
So it was like,
I know AJ Styles is on Twitch. He's a big
so they've actually gone back on it since Vince.
But
left.
The money has to still filter through the company.
They're still giving them a cut.
So they're allowed to do it, but they still have to keep giving money
It's a lot more
to WWE.
It's a lot more kind of policed now.
Yeah,
like,
I think
at one point, like they were doing, like Big E was doing cameos like every single day for like $500 a day, and he $500 a video, and just he was quite good at it really, because he was like, I think he donated a lot of it to charity, and he also kind of used to try and put people off doing them by charging stupid amounts. So it was like people who really wanted it, and he used to do very he was very good with it from what I've understood. But yeah, a lot of people just kind of complied, and that was it. But there was a few people who kind of kicked off and then were either booted out the door or quietly exited.
I think the reality is now as well that I think the reason why WWE have maybe had to backtrack slightly on it is because of the fact that AEW has...
They've got legit competition
competition nowadays, whereas in 2020 it was still quite upstart, and it was only a year old, and they didn't realize how much of a legit alternative it could be for these wrestlers. So now there are a hell of a lot of wrestlers who kind of just were released, and they shrugged their shoulders and gone, well, I can either go back to WWE and get my X amount guaranteed for wrestling contract, and then have to and still put in the same amount of effort on my Twitch channel or my YouTube channel or whatever, but then sacrifice 80% of that because I'll have to license my name to be able to do that. Or I can go work for AEW. I might earn slightly less or the same as for my wrestling
I've got
contract.
more autonomy over the other things,
but I've got control over my
spare. You can probably earn more
at
a certain level anyway.
Yeah, because of the fact that again, there's so
and
much
merch
time
as well.
in the day,
WWE, all the merch goes through them. With like AEW, they use Pro Wrestling Tees to do all their merch, so it's all independent for the individual.
So even if you were like selling like the hottest wrestling T-shirt, and it was to do with you or your gimmick or your catchphrase, they're still taking.
Even if you came up with it, WWE will probably trademark it, and then you'll get like.
It's because WWE see themselves more as like
a Marvel,
as opposed to just a platform for.
Well, you know what he said. We make movies.
You gotta eat your drink.
So yeah, there's a lot of like parallels there, right? With that kind of freelance discussion, and bit of not quite freedom of speech, but freedom to kind of do and say what you want.
A lot of control over people when it's absolutely unnecessary and kind of. Yeah.
One of the
obviously there's other stuff. There's more horrendous shit going on in the world right now.
Oh yeah, like
the oppression of the women in Iran and and stuff like that. So this isn't. It's just a very, very weird time to be living. Over here. In this country.
It is,
and due to the political situation, not the fact that Dan has passed his driving test.
I mean that makes it weird enough as it is.
It's going to be dangerous on those roads.
Can you imagine?
We should get him like a bumper sticker that says like "honk if you love the Tories" or something. And stick it on the back in massive letters.
No,
not go for that. No,
I might get a personalized number plate though, because I'm gonna be one of those.
Oh, TMIW1.
Oh yeah, do you know actually? See what I can get. I'll have a look after this pod.
Are you gonna get a purple car with like a wrestling?
Do it on the bonnet.
Yeah.
Paint
the old Golf in Tell Me in Wrestling purple.
Do it.
You should.
Anyways.
Right. Does that about do it?
I think that does it.
Yeah, I think we're all done.
Nice one. Well, that's it from your favourite wrestling podcast.
With a recently passed driver from Hull.
Whoop, whoop.
But for this week, we are all tapped out.
Mummy, daddy.